Okay.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom.
It is day 95. 95 days since the national emergency was called. 25 days since the country has been expressing its civil unrest at the systemic racism in the nation. And we are here in New York City, anyway, 3 days away from moving on to phase 2 of opening the city. It's also Cousin Glenn's birthday. Happy birthday. It's also Mark Hesselgrave's birthday. Happy birthday, Heschel Schmeschel. Sent him a gif of a dog jumping up and down on a trampoline. It was also Leah's birthday on Monday, and her wish for her birthday is 1,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel. So go to Leah's page and click subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Let's get Leah her 1,000. I think she still has like 150 left, so encourage your friends as well. Tomorrow is Juneteenth, and I found these flags here. This is the UNIA flag. Marcus Garvey, the red, of course, represents the blood that unites all the people of Black African ancestry and also the blood that was shed for liberation. The black is for the black people whose existence as a nation, although not a nation state, is confirmed by the existence of the flag. And the green represents the natural wealth of Africa. Now, you've all seen that. And then in 1990, artist David Hammond first showed this in Amsterdam in the 1990s. This is cool. And now, these days, the beauty of art and design, you can get these, incredible flags. There's a lot of history behind that. There's a lot going on there, and it's beautiful. It is an artistic expression. It is a communication. It is a message. And there is also the Juneteenth flag. Now, this was one of the first iterations of the Juneteenth flag, which the folks at the NJOF, the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation, put together in 97. But nowadays, you can also see the flag. Now, notice that the line between the blue and the red is straight, but the flag has gone through a couple of iterations itself, and now it involves a curved line between the red and the blue, and it has the date June 19th, 1865 on it. And that was added to the flag in order to place the historic date that Juneteenth occurred in Galveston, Texas. So absolutely fascinating. And the reason that I want to look at these flags and all these different representations of historical things and see how all of this evolves over time, because we're going through a historic time right now. We're seeing changes almost on a daily basis now. And here is an artistic expression of that through two of our favorite artists, Franklin Rankin on guitar. We've heard this tune a couple times. It's amazing every time. And Ed Yu, photographer, who we had on a few weeks ago. He's been out catching some of the events that have been going on, so a lot of the protests and stuff like that. So here's an amalgamation.
I want you to know that you matter. I want you to know that your lives matter, that your dreams matter. And there is a change in mindset that's taking place.
You are not alone. And we are all in this together. But with that idea of we are not alone, corporations have, of course, been communicating to us. And the Wall Street Journal had a great graphic. They took 35 corporate messages from CEOs, and these are from giant corporations, and they broke down the words, which words they used more often. Of course, George Floyd was the most popularly used word in all of these communications. But this is a fascinating thing to look at because corporations are dealing with things which unfortunately they hadn't dealt with in the past, but we just have to watch now the attempts and see what that messaging that is really coming at us. One of the big giant banks I noticed, they're going to have a half a day tomorrow. Branches are closing at 1 p.m. I just thought that was fascinating because I don't recall that was on their normal list. Juneteenth wasn't on their normal list of holidays. So it's fascinating. How does something that big, turn around and then all of a sudden, maybe within 72 hours, how long did it take them to make that decision? Fascinating stuff. And the other thing that got me thinking about how we are all together in this, and we are all not alone. Cousin Jen Martin is a flight nurse. She jumps in a helicopter and does amazing things. Fascinating. These are pictures from Jen Martin in a helicopter. And when I saw these on Instagram, just, the words, we all know them. This land is your land. This land is my land. It's our land. This is our country. We are all in this together. Speaking about being in this together, Emmett Tross, who you know from last week from Justice for George, Queens, has a fascinating and beautiful voice. Wait till you hear him. I'm going to roll this, and then I'm going to bring him on. This is amazing.
Oh, and the saints go marching in. Oh, and the saints go marching in. Oh, I want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the sun refused to shine. Oh, when the sun refused to shine. Oh, I want to be in that number when the sun refused to shine. Oh, when they crown him Lord of all. Oh, when they crown him Lord of all. Oh, how I want to be in that number when they crown him Lord of all.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Does that not make the hair on the back of your neck just stand up on end? Emmett is amazing. And I will tell you this, while we were recording that, I've just never laughed so much with anybody. Someone who has a beautiful voice and an even more beautiful laugh. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Let us see if I can do this in up. There he is. Hello, Emmett.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me again. I greatly appreciate this.
Please, this is just so awesome. And it was great. I had a lot of fun when we made the recording the other day.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
It definitely was a time to remember.
And so, I went off to my little edit bay, but you gathered up all your things and then you went out into the field. So tell us a little bit about what happened right after we recorded.
So after we recorded Wednesday, we kind of gathered our Justice for George Queens coalition once again and assembled down by Astoria Park, where we were having two reference point marches. The first reference point was for Black trans lives, and to just make a note that these are women who are going murdered and in some cases never even identified or in another sense misgendered. So it's making it extremely hard for these women to be identified and their families to claim their bodies and thus, but we shouldn't even have to have that conversation. Shouldn't even have gotten to that point. We should have a real conversation about not just equality, but equity. And I think that's really important. So then we kind of marched onward to Astoria Boulevard and 31st Street, where we have Columbus Square. And
Right.
there's a giant statue of Columbus, Christopher Columbus, who is clearly, as we all know, was not the man we were taught in second, third, and fourth, and so on throughout our high school careers. So we really kind of rallied around there, and it was for our indigenous brothers and sisters to really kind of say, you know what, this land that we are all on
Mm-hmm.
is actually stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been stolen for quite some time, and it's about time that we recognize that. And so we did just that with some indigenous speakers who were phenomenal and very emphatic about their culture and bringing it to us and to the public so that we can get a better understanding, so that we can fight for justice, not just in equality, but in equity as well.
Right. Wow. Fascinating. And there are some beautiful clips on the Justice for George Instagram site. I'm going to grab a couple of those clips and show them next week. I may not have put the Justice for George link in tonight's episode, but I can go back later and I'll put that in so people can go to the Instagram and see some of that. And so then this next song that we recorded, what's a little backstory on that? Why did you pick this song that we're about to hear? It's so amazingly powerful.
So there's a couple of reasons, actually. So my dad's from New Orleans. My family's from New Orleans, and When the Saints Go Marching is a song that I kind of grew up with, as most of us kind of did.
Mm-hmm.
But it holds especially true for me because the New Orleans Saints. So, athlete reference. But within that concept, I also kind of dove really into the historical context of When the Saints Go Marching In, and it really kind of references a lot of people actually get it mixed up with a hymn that is entitled When the Saints Are Marching In, which is not When the Saints Go Marching In, which is a jazz tune that was kind of coined again throughout the New Orleans area. But that specific piece talks about kind of the end times and kind of being in the army of God. And so I kind of wanted to repurpose it because whenever our forefathers and ancestors have come before us to create this genre called spirituals, they were kind of stripped of their native tongue. They were stripped of their native garb and thus their native music. And so they had to kind of adopt and adapt to the genre that they were, kind of being forced to force-fed. And so they did just that, but they did it with vigor and with such beautiful creativity that that gives us an entire genre 200 something years later that people really are finally, I think, starting to appreciate and understand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then, okay, so now I'm going to roll this second song, which, certainly in our young life of this show, this is one of the more powerful things that we've ever played on it. But I'm sure that as far as the entire internet is concerned, this is one of the more powerful things. I'm going to go ahead and roll this, and then we'll come right back.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. No more mourning, no more mourning, no more mourning buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. They'll be singing. They'll be singing. They'll be singing over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Yeah, stunning. Bravo. Amazing. Oh my goodness. All right. So, why did you choose that song?
So there's a couple reasons, just with the last one. The first time I think I really heard that song, and it touched my heart, was by Shirley Verrett, who is a very famous opera singer, Black female opera singer. And there was something about her connection to the center of that song. And I don't know how to describe it other than just magical. It really just touched my heart. And I felt the struggle. I felt the pain, the anguish, the hope for no more moaning. I really felt that. And in this time right now, I think really what we're all asking for is true freedom. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we've ever been granted that. And I think the reason we're in the mess we're in right now is simply because people thought that after 1964 and, the Civil Rights Bill had been, signed into law, that racism was over.
Right.
And unfortunately, it is a systemic issue, unlike what our current administration is trying to push. It is a systemic issue, and it does need to be uprooted. And thus, I will continue to fight for my freedom, because before I'll ever be a slave, I will be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. But I will be free in America first.
Amen. And
Amen.
One last question just to follow up on all of that. Do you see this idea of peaceful protest, of people gathering for a specific reason, as something that will be ongoing, long term?
I can say this. I definitely think that will be something that will be ongoing and absolutely long term. Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing. We've seen clearly through the 53 years in between then and now, that if you let up the pressure and if you get comfortable, that will breed laziness. And what will fester in that laziness are seeds of racism, seeds of prejudice, seeds of destruction, seeds of confusion. And so we just can't simply have that. We need to all be on one accord. We need to all walk united and truly be one United States of America. And in order to do that, we must exercise all of our amendment rights. But the first and most important being that we must exercise our right to protest. And especially such egregious and just terrible and horrific actions that we've seen in the past couple months that unfortunately the world is just now seeing, but the Black community at large and the African American community specifically has seen and has had to have such a consciousness for quite some time now.
And so, that being said, what is next?
Oh yes, thank you, Scott. So next we have, a march to the polls. And please, I encourage everyone who's watching and who will watch to please go to our Instagram page and follow Justice for George Queens. That's Justice for George Queens. And that's where we post all of our information about our upcoming rallies and events, because we are marginalized people and we are all spread out everywhere. And so we want to make sure that we hit every single sector and are able to create a true rainbow coalition and a true America that reflects what we all say we believe.
Beautiful. And so when will that be?
So that's June 23rd.
Okay.
June 23rd, yeah, a march to the polls. So please go to our Instagram page. We're still putting together all of that information. But please go to our Instagram page and follow us, and we will definitely let you know when and where and all of that information.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for spending another, few minutes with us here.
Of course, I love it. Anytime. This work is so important. You're doing an amazing job getting all of this out to people and giving them something, to kind of ease their souls and rest their minds during this tumultuous time.
Oh, thank you. We will see you again soon.
Definitely. Thank you, Scott.
All right. Be safe, Emmett. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Talented guy for sure, and busy. He's got a lot going on. Thank you very much for spending part of your evening with us. Thank you to Ed and to Frank and to Emmett, for just spending that time and sharing their talent. Have a great weekend. Be safe. New York City is about to move into phase 2. We're going to talk more about that on Tuesday. But we know 3 things that work to help keep the numbers down. We flattened the curve in New York City, and there's no reason why we need to let up on that. It's not a time to get sloppy. We need to wear our masks. We need to wash our hands, and we got to keep that social distancing going on. All right? Be safe. We'll see you on Tuesday. Hunker, hug, Haven. Have a great weekend.